Have you ever had somebody just betray your trust and you're no longer sure about what you can do? Well, if that's the case, here's something I want to share with you. Hey now, how is everybody doing? Welcome to Red Alert Diaries with Tanya E. Hood. I'm wondering if you've ever been in a position where somebody betrayed your trust, and because of that betrayal, it makes you feel some type of way. You no longer trust yourself. You no longer trust your skill sets. You stop doing the thing that you used to do because of something that somebody else did. And now you're wondering, how do I even go back to being my best self? Well, there's something I want to share with you today. There are 5 T's that I discovered that people often walk through when they feel themselves in a position where they are stuck. First is trauma. There's something in your world that was traumatic. Going through a divorce is traumatic. And if your divorce is triggering something else in your past that was traumatic to you, then it takes you longer to get out of it because you're just rehashing the emotions that you probably never dealt with, emotions that you don't really know how to deal with. And then to have more trauma on top of trauma, you feel like you're drowning. So you are not going to be able to get an idea of where's the light at the end of this tunnel because the world still looks like it's shaking and shaking. So here's the thing I want you to do with your trauma. Face it. If you decide to take the moment to say, okay, it happened, not saying that it was good for you or something that should have happened, it was wrong because trauma is wrong, but acknowledge that it happened. When you give credence to acknowledging what occurred, it loses some of its power. Giving words to it diminishes it. My grandmother would often tell me, if you can define it, you can deal with it. So define the trauma so that you can get steps to dealing with it. As a coach, what I typically do is give you insight about your strength, which is why I let you know that you have more power than you imagine and you're stronger than you know. Whatever's coming up against you right now, you have the ability to move beyond it. I have a basic belief, and this is just Tanya's belief. Now, you don't have to believe in it if you don't want to, but I often say that if you choose to let Jesus join you on the journey, he'll give you strength that you never even imagined, courage that you didn't even know you had, and you can move past whatever trauma is facing you because you are a different person now than you were when that thing happened. So I want you to define whatever trauma you're dealing with. The second T is tiredness. Sometimes when you're tired, you just decide, I don't want to be bothered. So you don't even put forth any effort that's needed to get you to your breakthrough because you're tired. And trust me, I understand being tired because for a lot of us in our marriage, we were the ones that did a lot of the things because it's often those that come seeking support or help are the ones that already have been working on doing a lot of the stuff in your marriage to begin with. If people don't think they need help, they haven't usually been helping. So if you recognize that where you are is because you're tired, rest. And if you have responsibilities, because lots of times those people that feel the most tired are those that have the most responsibilities. Give yourself one day of doing nothing that you are responsible for. If you have to go to work full time, that's a day you call in sick. If you don't have sick leave, hopefully you do. But if you can afford to take off 1 day of work and it doesn't financially impact you, do that. And then do nothing and see what truly needs your attention. But don't do anything with it for one day. By choosing not to involve yourself or insert yourself in anything that you normally do for one day, you really get clear how much of whatever it is going on in your life really needs your attention. Here's the third T. Let me walk through this a little bit. The third T is terror. Sometimes we are just terrified of the unknown. Going through creating a new life, new beginnings, and new things, it's terrifying because you don't know what is expected of you. Sometimes we have our imaginations that just run wild because of what we are unsure is expected of us. I want you to trust the process. Trust that everything that you have encountered that was brand new in your world, you have been an overcomer. You have to trust the process of making certain that strategies that you put in place will be able to get you through the journey that you're walking in. We don't often give ourselves enough credit that what we are walking through and the strategies and things that we're putting in place, we can get that done. Here's the thing that you have that is a beautiful strength. Your ability to analyze a situation gives you a strength. You recognize that when people come to you, they often come to you because you can easily put a process in place that will support the journey, be it personally or professionally. You are the one that can come up with how to organize a certain thing, strategies that will give people success. You have a visionary element in your being that can give you the chance to see in a couple of different touch points. And as a result of that, you can create strategies that give greater support. When you choose to trust yourself to do the thing that everybody else already comes for you to do, doing it for you, then you'll be able to trust again. You'll be able to trust you. And if you have better trust in who you are at the core of your being, then it doesn't matter what other people do. Because the trust that you have in you, the process that you put in place, how you've laid things out to get to a better position, that will give you victory in what you're dealing with. So I want you to be okay with recognizing, yeah, my trust got broken in this moment, but I trust myself to be able to move into a better direction. Here's the fourth T, thinking. Some of us are just overthinkers. I am one of those individuals that think way too much for way too long in too many situations. I overanalyze. I know maybe you've heard analysis paralysis. Yeah, it's a real thing. And when I find myself in conflict, I overanalyze because my brain just picks on all the various touch points. If this had happened, maybe that would have been the thing. If this has happened, that could have happened. This could possibly be a strategy for that. Maybe I can go here and do that. Is exhausting, which makes you tired. It can also lead you to terror, but the thinking, just thinking way too much for way too long, will put you in a position where you're creating scenarios that don't even exist and will probably never exist. So to deal with your overthinking, take an action. Write down everything that you feel that you're thinking about. Make a list. If you want to, get a notebook to write down all of the stuff that you are thinking. So some of it you may need to track and go back to, but I ask you to write it down so that you can get it out of your head. If you can get it out of your head, it will stop taunting you. So write down what you're thinking. Then I want you to look at the list and prioritize it. Prioritize it according to these things. One, do I really need to do anything with that thought? If you don't really need to do anything with that thought, scratch it off. Number two, is this thought something that could be a reality? Maybe in the future, maybe it was something in your past that you were thinking, if I had done that, maybe this would not have occurred. Circle it. When you circle it, it lets you know, I can go back and take a look at that. Then in some of your thinking, the third thing I want you to look at, is it something I need to do right now that may be able to put an action to it? Is there an action I can take right now on that thing? If there's an action that you can take for that thing, put a check mark beside it. When you are done going through your list, you already have things that are scratched off. You don't have to deal with those anymore. Everything that has a check mark, put on a different sheet of paper. When you put that on a different sheet of paper, then I want you to go through that and repeat. Is it something that I really need to do now? Is it something that will actually happen? Because some of the times when we are filtering, we may be filtering in different spaces and places. And when you start looking at things sort of move around, you may get a different perspective. When I did this initially in the aftermath of my divorce, my original list was 3 pages long. Told y'all, overthink. When I went through all my check marks, I got down to 1 page. When I looked at the one page and rethought what was on there, I discovered there were only maybe 12 or 13 things I really needed to do that required my attention. And then I took that and I did other things. We'll talk about that another day. Because if that's where you're headed, then there's a whole separate set of strategies I want to give you in that space and place. Just reach out to me and we can go there. But here's the fifth thing I want to tell you. I was definitely in the middle of the 3 C's. There comes a time when you will have to decide if you need clarification, connection, or closure about a person to determine how to move forward in the relationship. Some relationships need connecting. Some relationships need clarifying. You will need to take the time to determine what the relationship should be in order for it to be beneficial for both of you. I took the time to write down some things that I think will support you. The free chapter is available for you in the link below. The fifth T. The fifth T is a transition. Sometimes we get stuck in the bends of life. Going through a divorce is a thing that gets you stuck in the bend of life. When you get stuck in the bend of life, you're not quite sure because you're not really where you want to be, but you kind of see the end of the tunnel, but you're still so close to your past. You're in this weird middle, what I call the messy middle. And if we get comfortable in the messy middle, then that mediocrity will start causing you to just malfunction because you're comfortable with mess that you shouldn't be comfortable with. And some of us got comfortable with it because it occurred in our marriage. It's just not as bad now that that other person is not causing you the emotional havoc that you had when you were with them. But you're still not the best of where you should be, the best of who you could be, the best in that moment. Because what mediocre does, being in the middle makes you mediocre. Mediocre means that you're the best of the worst, but you're also the worst of the best. You really want that to be your existence? Nah, I don't think so. So what do? We start to be proactive. Be proactive with your choices. We've gone through the 5 T's so that you're clear about what that looks like. You have already defined your trauma. You got some rest so you're no longer tired. You recognize that the terror that you're feeling, you're going to give yourself the opportunity to be your own cheerleader if you don't have someone to cheer you on. And you're overthinking, you're like me. You have a strategy now to deal with that thinking. So when you find yourself in transition, you don't get stuck anymore. You have a little bit better insight about how to move through that process. And here's a next level note I want to leave you with. A lot of times when we are walking through putting our trust in somebody else's hands, man will fail you every time. You cannot trust another two-legged creature to walk you through whatever your victory is. This is why I often share. If you have a better relationship with yourself, it will give you insight to have a better relationship with others. But you won't trust all of the end results of your being with the person. That's why the glue to make things truly work together is having a better relationship with a being greater than yourself. For me, that's Jesus Christ. Because it was Jesus that I put my trust in when the people that I thought would be able to support me when I had that task on my job, because we formed a team to get this thing done. And we're taking so long that it's because of all the disagreements and all the malfunctioning, all the intertwined personalities that just don't want to come together. Yeah, in that moment at that time, I had to trust that I knew enough to be able to get to a place where we could move into a better direction. So my skill set as a visionary, I used that to say, hey, I see your thought here, your thought here, your thought there. And the superpower that I possess is being able to see all those various touch points and how do I connect them. That is when my thinking moments are real, real good. I no longer allowed myself to let the overthinking terrorize me while I walked through transitions because I was once traumatized by the mistrust that I had for someone on that team. But I trusted Tanya's skill, Tanya's ability, and it was a trust in me and a trust in a being greater than myself. Because when I asked Jesus to join me on the journey, he gave me insight about, hey, the reason they are doing that is because of a broken trust that they had when they were on a team. The reason they are acting like that is because of a broken trust that they had when they shared their insight and it was not received. So I got the strategy to acknowledge those that presented information. I got the strategy to ensure that each voice was heard. I got the strategy to know that when I see the vision of the various touch points, I'll be able to move past the 5 T's and build something that will last. That's legacy. There's legacy in your being, there's legacy in your soul. I want you to know that if you start trusting the process, because you are the one that is capable of building it and putting it in place, then you'll be able to help others rally around what's necessary to move into a better direction. And so for today, if anything that I've shared has resonated with you, then it's time to like and share this information with others. So go to my website, TanyaEhood.com. There you can click under the Work With Me tab and see the various ways that we can work with one another. And if you are on YouTube, you can join me live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we can continue the conversation or we can start a new one. In the meantime, this Tanya E. Hood, walking in my purpose, and I want you to do the same.